Welcome to the Ultimate Sports Podcast. This evening's guest is somebody that covers horse racing for Horse Racing Nation and the Daily Gallop to talk about the Belmont Stakes and other sports too, because this person knows a lot about sports. Jeffrey Byrnes, how are you tonight?
Doing good, man. How about you?
I'm good. All right, we're going to start off with the Belmont, obviously, the big event tomorrow night. 6:50 is around the time of, right? 6:50 Eastern?
Yep, 6:50 Eastern, just before 7 o'clock.
Just before 7 o'clock. All right, 10 horses in this race. We're going to go 1 through 10 like we did last time, although the Derby was a bigger field, obviously. We're going to go through all the horses. I'm going to give out the odds, and then I'll have you talk about each of the horses, because some of these horses are new to the field, and some of these we've seen in the Derby and in the Preakness. First up is Jovia, who is the longest one on the board in terms of odds, 30-1. Tell us about Jovia.
Jovia, this is a horse coming in. This is a new shooter to the Triple Crown Series. They're not running in the Kentucky Derby or the Preakness. Jovia comes into this race off a stakes win in Monmouth Park called the Long Branch Stakes, where he went wire to wire, going a mile and a 16th. This is a horse who has a lot of speed on the front end, so I fully expect him, since also coming from the one post, that he should be on the lead, or at least close to the pace in the early going. This is a horse who has a lot of concerns for me going the mile and a half distance. He's a colt by a horse named Shanghai Bobby. Shanghai Bobby was a 2-year-old champion back in 2012, but he never won a race longer than going a mile and an eighth. So that's a little concern for me. I think the horse has some talent, but I think at the end he's ultimately going to be a miler. He's 30-1 on the morning line. I think that's about a right price for him.
Yeah, 30-1 is where I had it as well. The number 2 horse is Everfast, who's 12-1. I believe we saw Everfast in the Preakness. Am I not wrong?
No, you are not. In fact, Everfast was fast closing second in the Preakness, behind War of Will, which we'll get to a little later on. This is a horse. He was second at 25-1 in the Preakness Stakes. He comes back here in the Belmont. He gets Luis Saez aboard, who most famously was aboard Maximum Security in the Kentucky Derby. Of course, the horse that was disqualified from winning the Kentucky Derby.
Yep.
He gets Luis Saez today, tomorrow for that matter. And this is a horse who really has a lot of question marks as well. This will be his 12th career start coming up in the Belmont. He only has one career win, and that was his very first start back in August of 2018. He has not won a race since, but he has a couple of stakes placings. Before the Preakness, his last time in the top 3 was in the Holy Bull Stakes at Gulfstream Park all the way back in February. Now, since then, he has had finishes of 8th, 9th, 5th, and 2nd, so not very consistent. Pedigree-wise, he's a colt by the name of Take Charge Indy, who is sired by a former Belmont Stakes winner named 8P Indy, so I think on the top and bottom side, I think pedigree-wise, it should be okay. The question for him is he going to have the right amount of talent or the right amount of quality to beat this field? Do I think he could have a chance to win? I don't think so. But if the pace is right, I suspect he will be coming out late again. Trainer Dale Romans is a guy known for training long shots and for really going after the big money. So I don't know if he's necessarily a win contender, but I won't be surprised if he'll be around to get like 3rd or 4th placings.
All right, the 3 horse is Master Fencer, who is 8-1. Master Fencer was in the Kentucky Derby, but he was not in the Preakness. Tell us more about Master Fencer.
If you remember a few weeks ago when we talked about the Kentucky Derby, I said this horse was a toss, specifically because we didn't really know much about him. This horse made his American debut in the Kentucky Derby, and I thought, we really didn't know much about him, but he was actually a very good 6th in the Kentucky Derby. He finished 7th, was placed 6th through disqualification. He was dead last, turning for home in the Derby, but he was really, really flying late at the end to get 6th. He has been training pretty well going into the Belmont Stakes. My biggest concern, however, with him, just last week, he posted a 5-furlong workout at Belmont Stakes. There was video of it, and it didn't really look that great. He actually stumbled coming out of the far turn, and really, I don't know if he was quite handling the track as well. So that was a little bit of a red flag for me with Master Fencer. However, this is a horse who has good closing speed in a field where there really is not much pace. So Pace-wise, I don't know how he's going to really handle it. Could he possibly be running at the end? Absolutely. If he shows that same kick he showed in the Kentucky Derby, I think he could have a chance for a placing. But ultimately, it's going to come down to how he works out a good trip and does he get the right pace to close into. So it'll be very interesting to see where he comes from.
Yep. Next up is Tax, who's 15-1. Tax was also in the Derby. Tell us about Tax.
Tax did not have a very good trip in the Kentucky Derby. He broke from pole position number 2. He was balled up behind horses, and he just never really got a run going. He finished 14th in the Derby. Now, he comes back in the Belmont Stakes. This is a horse who has been training very well in the mornings. On Monday, trainer Danny Gargan gave an interview saying he will not be surprised to see Tax on the lead in the Belmont Stakes. So do not be surprised if he's either on the lead or at least like second or third in the early going. Tax is a horse who has basically throughout the 6 career start has been like a mid-range closer. So this is a change in tactics for him. And honestly, I think it could work out well for him because there is lack of pace in this race. I think pedigree-wise, he absolutely can handle the 1.5-mile distance. He gets Irad Ortiz Jr., one of the top riders at Belmont Park in the saddle. So this is a horse who I would definitely consider using in the top 4. It definitely was a toss-up for me, but we'll get to our picks in a little while, and I'll tell you when.
All right, 5, Bourbon War, 12-1. Bourbon War, I believe, was in the Preakness, and I like this horse a lot. Tell us about Bourbon War.
Bourbon War was in the Preakness 3 weeks ago. He's been a somewhat disappointing 8th in that Preakness Stakes. Even actually startled trainer Mark Henning. He was very surprised at how poorly he ran in the Preakness. He posted a workout just last week going 48-3 for 4 furlongs, and that was what the workout that convinced Mark Henning to send him to the Belmont Stakes. This is a horse who kind of has been hot and cold lately. It seems like he works really well in the mornings, but when it comes to the afternoons, he just can't put it together. He's running 4 stakes races in his career. He was 4th in the Remsen in December 2018. That was 2nd in the Mountain of Youth behind Code of Honor, who was 2nd in the Kentucky Derby. And then he's had really 2 disappointing efforts in the Florida Derby and Preakness. I think adding the extra distance of 1.5 miles could help him. I think he's a talented racehorse, but I don't know, when is he really going to put it together? That's really the big question with him, because it just seems like he hasn't really done that yet. Could it happen on Saturday? Absolutely, but 12-1, I think that's about the right price for him. I don't know if I can see it for him, though.
All right, how about Spinoff, who was in the Derby? That horse is 15-1.
Spinoff, this is the first of 2 for trainer Todd Pletcher. I think he could be a wild card here. Now, I understand you're going to look at the past performances. He was 18th in the Kentucky Derby. He just did not like the slop at all. He was really not running over it well. He had the far outside 19 post, and that was really a trouble trip for him that day. His rider really had a hard time getting over him. I think that's a complete toss-out race. I know he's much better than that. Spinoff, this is a horse coming in who has posted blazing fast workouts in the morning. His trainer, Todd Pletcher, has 3 Belmont Stakes wins of this decade, including 2 years ago with a horse named Taplet. I think, Javier Castellano in the saddle, one of the best riders in the country. I think he's also going to be another horse very close to pace. He's definitely has good speed in him. My biggest concern with him, however, is a 1.5-mile distance. His sire, Hardspun, never won a race over the 1.125 distance, even though he did compete in the Triple Crown races, all 3 of them, in 2007. His dam was a filly named Zaptig, who was a Grade 1 winner going a mile, but never further than that. So, pedigree-wise, maybe a little bit concerned, but trainer Todd Pletcher, he knows how to get a good horse to go 1.5 miles, especially on if pedigree doesn't show it why. So, I think he's definitely a sleeper pick. I think he has a lot of talent, and I think he definitely should be considered in your wagers.
All right, Sir Winston's next in the 7 spot. He's 12-1. This is a new entry into the Triple Crown. Am I right there?
Yes, he is. Sir Winston, first time in the Triple Crown Series. Last time out, he was a fast closing second in the local prep race for the Belmont Stakes, the Grade 3 Peter Pan Stakes. Came from way out of it to come home second. On that day, the pace setter set a blazing fast pace, and he took advantage of the pace, closed well to finish second. This is a horse who, pedigree-wise, definitely can handle the 1.5 miles. He's by a sire named Awesome Again, who has sired a couple Belmont Stakes runners. His dam sire was a horse named the Fleet Alex, who in 2005 won the Preakness and Belmont Stakes. So, pedigree-wise, he can definitely get this distance. My question is, does he have the talent to do it? Because under the Peter Pan, he looked like he came home second. But before that, he was not running well at all. He couldn't run well at Aqueduct. It took him down to Tampa. He finished fifth in the Tampa Bay Derby behind Tacitus, who we'll get to in a little bit. And then was disappointing seventh in the Bluegrass Stakes. Could the mile and a half definitely help him? Could he use a longer distance? Absolutely. This is trainer Mark Cassidy. This is the first of his two entries in this field. Yes, Joel Rosario, who rode into the second place run last time out. Could he definitely get the mile and a half? Maybe. But I don't know if I necessarily would use him in the win wagers.
All right, next up is Intemperate Heart, 10-1, new horse in the Triple Crown again here. Tell us about Intemperate Heart.
Intrepid Heart, this is a horse who, yes, very new to the Triple Crown. I think he's very dangerous. I think this is a horse who, of all the horses in the field, has the best pedigree to go the mile and a half distance. His sire is Tappet, who has sired 3 Belmont Stakes winners in the last 5 years. His dam is a filly named Flaming Heart. Flaming Heart is the dam of a horse named Commissioner. Commissioner was second in the 2014 Belmont Stakes, only beating the head after setting the pace. So this horse absolutely screams a mile and a half distance. Now, the question is, does he have the talent and is he good enough? His last race, he was third in the Peter Pan behind Sir Winston. He was the heavy favorite to win that day. He stumbled at the start. He was rushed up early and really just never got it going. So, for me, that's a toss-out race for him. I know he's a lot better than that. I think he's returning great workouts in the morning. He's getting blinkers on for the very first time, which I think should help him focus. I think it should help him keep his straight course. Johnny Velasquez chose him over Spinoff. I think that's a pretty big endorsement for him. He's 10-1 on the morning line. I won't be surprised if he drifts up a little bit, though. I really wish he would drift down a little bit because he's a newcomer to the Triple Crown. I think he's going to be much closer to the pace this time. Hopefully he gets away from the gate well. I think he's very live, and I think he's a good long shot to play.
Interesting. 9 is War of Will, 2-1 to win the race. War of Will obviously was involved in the controversy at the Kentucky Derby, and he also won the Preakness. What do you make of War of Will this time around?
War of Will, this is the only horse this year competing in all 3 legs of the Triple Crown. Of course, he was involved in the controversy in the Kentucky Derby. He won the Preakness and had a really good trip in the Preakness. I think this is a horse who, in my opinion, might be the best 3-year-old in the whole country as of right now. Should he win the Belmont Stakes, he will officially take that crown until the second half of the year starts. But War of Will is coming in. He has not posted any workouts since the Preakness. I might be a little bit concerned. I don't know if trainer Mark Cassidy is being a little too cautious with him. Another concern of mine, he's run 6 times this year. This will be his 6th race of the year. How many times has War of Will? How many times has War of Will run before he starts to show signs of tiredness? Now, Tyler Gaffleone, his jockey, I'm sure is going to get a good position from the outside. He finally gets away from the one post. I suspect he'll be very close to the pace early in the going. The pedigree distance, I think he's sired by Warfront, who is known to sire long-distance horses. His dam is a filly named Visions of Clarity, who has sired multiple horses, who has won races going longer than a mile and a half. So I think pedigree-wise he'll be okay. His trainer, Mark Cassidy, has been very hot over the last 14 days. He's won 3 races at Belmont. I think so. He's got a lot of momentum going for him. I think this is a horse who absolutely is dangerous. He's live. And if he runs the same race he did in the Preakness, I think he could be a winner again.
All right, and last but not least is the 10-horse Tacitus 9-5 favorite as of right now. And I know you were high on this horse for the Derby. What's your take this time around?
I'm high on it again. Tacitus, I think he ran a very good race in the Kentucky Derby. He was as far back as 16th early in the going. He had to work his way through traffic. He crossed the line 4th in the Derby, but was placed 3rd through disqualification. Training-wise, he's been lighting it up in the morning. He's been earning rave reviews from clockers and trainers around the Belmont trackside. Tacitus is a horse he's another horse sired by Tappet, who has sired multiple Belmont winners. His dam Close Hatches, a multiple Grade 1 winner over the Belmont track. He's posted a fast workout. over the Belmont track just last week. Jose Ortiz won the Belmont Stakes a couple years ago. Belmont winner a couple years ago. Right now, the only concern for me for him is the 10 post. Obviously, he doesn't want to get a wide trip, so he's going to have to work out a good trip. But other than that, really, I don't see any potential hazards for him. Other than, like, he could get, like, behind horses. He is a very live, dangerous play and deserving favorite.
Alrighty. Pick. I'm going to go first this time. My win, I'm going to go with War of Will. I just think this horse is very motivated because of what happened in the Derby, and then obviously he wins the Preakness. I just love War of Will. My place, I'm going to go off the board a little bit. I really do like Bourbon War. I think third time's a charm. I know NBC's Eddie Olczyk was high on this horse at the Preakness, and I like how Edzo does his work over at NBC. So, and I've heard a lot of nice things about Bourbon War. I'm going to take Bourbon War, although, like you said, he's been disappointing in some of these recent horse races like the Preakness and whatnot. And then third, I'm going to go with Tacitus. I really like Tacitus, too. And I considered picking Tacitus to win this race. How about you?
I picked Tacitus in the Kentucky Derby. I'm going to pick him again on the Belmont Stakes. I just think Tacitus, he is such a talented racehorse. He's doing everything right coming into this race, from the workouts to the gallops. He has looked phenomenal in the mornings. I think he's going to get a good trip in the 10 post. Jose Ortiz, who was born one of the best riders in the country, he knows this horse so well. I think he's a very talented racehorse. I think this will be his coming out party on Saturday. So I'm going to go Tacitus for the win. My placings, I'm going to go War of Will in second. I think honestly, I won't be surprised if Journey for Home, he's right there. But I don't know if the 6 races this year are going to catch up with him. I think he's due for another great run. I think he's definitely a talented 3-year-old, and I won't be surprised if he does win the Belmont. But I don't know. My biggest concern with him is the 1.5 miles, should he get it. Third, I'm going to go a little long shot. I'm going to go Intrepid Heart for third. Intrepid Heart, pedigree at wise, can handle the 1.5 miles. Last race is a complete toss out. I think he's much better than that. Should get a much better trip. The question is, will he be better with the blinkers on? So 10, 9, 8 will be my top 3.
I like that 10, 9, 8. That won't surprise me at all, and I won't be surprised if any of that order is the top 3. Before we move on to some other sports like the Stanley Cup and the NBA Finals and some other things I want to hit with you, what did you make of the disqualification of Maximum Security? I know you brought that up before. What was your thought on that? Do you think he deserved to be qualified? Because I certainly do.
I didn't mind it. I think it was the right call. I mean, obviously there's been a lot of buzz, a lot of polarizing responses to it. But I mean, the horse came out. Whether he was he came out for one path, he interfered with 4 different horses. You just can't do that. I mean, it doesn't matter if it's Kentucky Derby or a 12-5 claimer somewhere else. You can't do that. I mean, I thought it was the right call. I know the stewards, are getting a lot of heat for it, but at the end of the day, you can't interfere with another horse's progress. I mean, he interfered directly with War of Will, and who knows? If War of Will was able to get a clean trip, he possibly could have won the Derby. We could be talking Triple Crown right now with War of Will. But at the end of the day, the stewards made the decision. Maximum Security, he came out of the race okay. We'll see him again later in the summer. But at the end of the day, I think the right call was made. Me
too. And the other interesting thing that happened with these Triple Crown legs was obviously John Velasquez, the jockey of Boat Express, was thrown off the horse. And that was a pretty interesting scene. What did you make of that?
Yeah, that was very interesting to say the least. Good thing Johnny V is okay. He'll be riding Intrepid Heart tomorrow in the Belmont. So, yeah, Boat Express came out of the race okay. The Outriders did a great job getting a hold of him. Good thing he didn't interfere with the race. That's one thing.
Yep.
Yeah, it looks like everybody is okay, and I guess we'll just move on to the next one. Hopefully get a win.
All right. Stanley Cup final. Blues are up 3-2. Breaking news just in, by the way. Ivan Barbashev getting a 1-game suspension for the Blues. What do you make of that, and what do you make of the series so far?
It's been a very good series. The St. Louis Blues have done a phenomenal job hanging around with Boston. They've won 2 games, I believe, in Boston now. That's right?
Yep.
Yeah, they traveled to Boston, won 2 games. I think, especially after they lost 7-2 in Game 3, they did a phenomenal job regrouping, coming back, taking the next 2 games. This is a team with a lot of heart. I think, Ryan O'Reilly has done a phenomenal job leading his team. I think, the goalie is Binghamton, especially after getting pulled in Game 3. Game 3, he's done a phenomenal job bouncing back. It's been a very good series so far. It's a very entertaining series.
Yeah, I'm totally fine with the series other than Game 3, because Game 3 was boring, and then the rest of it's been fun. Barbashev gets suspended. Did you think that was deserved?
I think it was deserved. I mean, it's the NHL's call. I think at the end of the day, it was a good call. So we'll just leave it there.
Yeah, I think that was a good call, too. And I feel bad because, obviously, that no call led to that Blues goal. And now that's what everybody's going to be talking about. And I feel sorry for the Blues. And they've been the better team in the series outside of Game 3, in my mind. And, obviously, those periods in Game 1 where they fell apart. So it's going to be interesting to see how the rest of the series plays out. And the Bruins better not let that bad call sink into their heads a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the last game, I think it was a clear tripping call. I mean, you could even see Bozak even, pleading his case to the ref, and the ref didn't even raise his hand for a penalty. So he knew it was a penalty. We all knew it was a penalty. But, Boston's got to regroup. They cannot let that get into their head. But at the end of the day, now the series goes back to St. Louis. St. Louis is going to be rocking on June 9th. So Stanley Cup's going to be in the house. Much momentum right now with the Blues.
Yeah, I took the Blues in 6 before the series, so that's looking really good right now. Meanwhile, I took the Warriors in 6 in the NBA Finals. That's not looking so great right now. What do you make of the NBA Finals so far?
Honestly, I'm not surprised. I think a lot of analysts, a lot of people have really underestimated the Toronto Raptors. I mean, you look at Kawhi Leonard, what he has done this postseason, what he has done leading this team. He's done a really good job. Nick Nurse has done a phenomenal job coaching, getting more players involved, from Van Fleet to Kyle Lowry, Siakam. I mean, his Game 1 was phenomenal. It's really been a good job all the way around as far as the Raptors taking advantage of the injuries to Kevin Durant and Klay Thompson. Steph Curry's had to do a lot of the work for the Warriors, but Klay Thompson coming back Game 4, he's going to help out a lot, but is it really going to be enough? That's at the end of the day, I don't know if that's going to be enough.
I don't know either. We shall see. I do think the Warriors even it up tonight with Klay returning, but I'm not so sure they're going to win the series, though, and I won't be surprised if it takes 7. One last thing before we go. Your beloved Brooklyn Nets made a monumental trade last night, sending away Alan Crabb's contract with a couple draft picks to the Atlanta Hawks, getting back Taurean Prince, but more importantly, it clears cap space, so you guys have 2 max spots now for 2 free agents, but I know the Nets want to, or I think they want to bring back D'Angelo Russell. What's your take on the Nets trade?
This is a trade, I like it. I think this is a good trade not only for the Brooklyn Nets, I think it's a good trade for the Atlanta Hawks, too. Because what this does, as you said, it clears out the $18 million in cap space for the Nets. That gives them now $46 million in cap space, so now they have enough for a max salary cap, and also can have the option to retain D'Angelo Russell. Now, if they decide to part ways with D'Angelo Russell, they have 2 max slots that they can go after. So, and of course, it was reported yesterday by ESPN that Kyrie Irving is very serious about joining the Nets. So, I mean, it's going to be interesting to see where he goes. And the question is, does Kevin Durant possibly follow? I mean, right now it's looking like a long shot to see Kevin Durant possibly go to the Nets. A lot of rumors saying he wants to go to the Knicks or he wants to stay with the Warriors. But Kevin Durant is typically a guy who doesn't really make decisions until the last minute. So it'll be interesting to see where he goes. For the Atlanta Hawks, this is a trade that they get Alan Crabb, but they also now have 3 first-round picks. So I believe they have the 8th, 10, and now the 17 picks. So they have 3 first-round picks that can actually use one of those picks to possibly move up in the draft. So I think this is a trade that works for both teams to get what they want. Next, clear out the cap space, possibly go after big free agents and Hawks. They're continuing a rebuild, so they get more draft picks to work with.
Yeah, that trade side for Atlanta is one that not much people are talking about because everyone's focusing on the possibility of the 2 max slots for Brooklyn. Great trade by the Hawks as well. That's a very good point. And now they have 3 picks, and we'll see if they move up or not. So it was a pleasure having you on today, and maybe I'll get you on in the summertime and talk about basketball moves and what could happen at the baseball trade deadline.
All right, sounds good, Madison. Always good to talk to you.
All right.